franktalks.com.
This program does not represent the views of this station and may be considered offensive to some listeners. This program may contain mature subject matter, including frank discussions of controversial topics. It is intended for mature, open-minded audiences. Discretion is highly advised. This program is entirely independently produced by and is copyrighted by Frank 2005. It is broadcast here under license.
You're listening to Frank Talks, Pleasures and Lifestyles, and I'm Frank because I have to be. We're in studio today with Mr. Marvi Arlik. Welcome to Frank Talks, Marvi.
Nice to be here, Frank.
So, Marvi, you are a fashion and image consultant for men.
That's correct.
All right, we're going to take this, we're going to try to do a more traditional interview. Marvi Arlik of marviarlik.com is a fashion and image consultant for men. Marvi, let's start off with some of the basic questions. Where were you born? And tell me a little bit about your upbringing as it relates to being a fashion and image consultant for men.
Well, I was born in Montreal. My background growing up, probably in high school and the beginning of CEGEP, was art. I used to paint, used to draw, anything that had to do with design or art. I was pretty much interested in. And I spent a lot of time on that. When I got to university, I started getting more into music. I was playing in a band, and I ended up managing that band. So I went from image and design to more musical aspirations, if you will. Because I started managing the band, I got into the management program at university, and I started studying management thinking I was going to get into band management. Eventually, the band thing didn't work out, as it is with most university bands. And I found myself pursuing a career in management and finance, and got my degree in university. Ended up getting a job as a professional. Joined the whole, trying to climb the corporate ladder.
Was this in an entertainment company at all?
No, it had nothing to do with any creative aspect, not entertainment, not art, or anything like that. So I joined. I thought that's what was interesting. I thought that the whole thing about art and all of that was a phase or something I was in within university. I was sort of exploring. Fast forward 10 years, I wasn't happy with what I was doing in the corporate environment. Although I had a lot of good security and financially it was very comfortable. But something was off. I was burnt out, I was tired, I was overweight, I was single. Well, most of my friends were engaged or getting married. There was a disconnect there. The first thing I did was I started to lose weight. Healthily, not unhealthily. I started working out, started eating healthy. I thought maybe that's the reason why I'm not happy and single and that sort of thing. So that was the first thing that put me down this path. In my background, there are other elements of fashion that are back there that I never thought of until I started doing this more full time. The first is when I was in university, I used to express my personality with my clothing. I didn't dress like a typical university student with a baseball cap and a varsity sweater. I think I went for a year dressing all in black. Used to wear black clothing, almost goth type clothing. Had really long hair, but it wasn't the way I dressed to just go to a club. It's the way I dressed all the time, whether I was going to class, for a beer, whether I was going to a family function, believe it or not. So I was really expressing who I was, what type of music I listened to, and what I thought my path was at the time based on my clothing. So that's a little hint towards thinking back as to where I got a lot of the ideas that I use now.
Now, you'd also mentioned that you spent about 10 years working on a career that had nothing to do with fashion or art or design or music. What was your wardrobe style during that period?
because I was working long hours in a professional environment, I was wearing a lot of suits and ties. And I was so tired and not going out much after work that I really neglected the rest of my wardrobe. I really didn't care what I wear because I wasn't going out afterwards, so I'd probably just stay home and change to something more comfortable. So I really wasn't wearing a lot of stylish clothing at that time.
Now, what was the cathartic event that happened to you in your life that made you wake up one day and say, been doing this for 10 years, not happy, going back to my artistic roots?
It wasn't that. I sort of started on a path just realizing that I wasn't happy. It wasn't like a flashbulb moment at that point. It was more of a build-up. And once I started losing weight, suddenly my clothes didn't fit me anymore. So I had to start changing my wardrobe, basically because I didn't fit into anything I was wearing. And I started thinking, you know what, because I have a thinner body now and I'm more in shape, is there a way that I can dress that I can show myself off a bit more physically instead of just wearing generic clothing? I started getting into it. There's always been a little bit of background interest in fashion. An interesting story I tell my clients is I was once at a client in the Miramichi in New Brunswick for 3 weeks where there was nothing to do except go to work and watch. The only thing that was on television at night was fashion television. So we used to watch that every night for 3 weeks. And it sort of stuck. So I always sort of followed fashion, but I never really gave it much thought. But once I started buying new clothing and that sort of thing, I thought that was my path to having more success with women, if you will. I lost the weight, I'm going to start looking good, and that's going to be the answer to everything. So I spent at least a year really studying types of fashion trends, trying on different clothing, really experimenting with different stuff. And that's what sort of put me on the path for what I do now.
And how did that work for you in terms of attracting more women?
It didn't, directly. After about a year of not really having, changing my clothing style and looking good, there was still something missing. Okay, it did help, but there was still something missing. And that's how I got into more studying dating materials, finding good mentors, that sort of thing, which put me more on a path of studying how to attract women. The fashion part of it sort of worked in parallel with that. Once I fused the two, then there was really direct connection between the two in terms of my theories on how to attract women.
All right. Now, which materials out there have you come across that really augment your own teachings of fashion and imagery in terms of attracting women?
In terms of, like, concepts of attraction?
Yeah.
I guess, well, the first thing is the concept of that 93% of how you communicate to a woman is nonverbal. I'm a big believer that people talk about that there's a portion that is body language, and then there's a portion that's tonality. And those are the two parts that are nonverbal when you're going to talk to a woman. I'm a strong believer of adding a third part within the body language portion of that percentage, whatever the percentage is. People argue back and forth. But there's a percentage that has to do with your actual image you're presenting with the clothing. So when you go up and you're going to go talk to a woman, it's not just how you hold your body language, it's not just how you're talking to her with your tonality, but it's how you present yourself with your clothing. It's not a huge percentage, but there is a percentage there that is available to a man to help him try and attract a woman.
We're going to be going to commercial here on Frank Talks, Pleasures and Lifestyles.
Frank Talks is sponsored in part by Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test, a man's guide to the emotional needs of women. Ladies, does your man squash your inner vixen? When you ask him to repeat what you have just said to him, does he look at you like a deer caught in the headlights? Does he think that leaving the game on while you talk to him is a good idea? Is his favorite phrase, "Yes, dear, you are absolutely right"? Does wife or girlfriend mean boring and dull to him? Ladies, don't you wish that he knows what you mean when you ask him if you look fat? Then you need to buy him the book Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test, a man's guide to the emotional needs of women. On sale now at franktalks.com.
Hi, my name is Marvi, Arlik, and I'm a Montreal-based image consultant. Have you considered how you make a first impression with your current fashion style? If not, and you're ready for a change in your image, and you're based in Montreal, please contact me at marviarlik.com. That's marviarlik.com. And find out about my all-inclusive image consultant experience. Marvi Arlik is a proud sponsor of Frank Talks Pleasures and Lifestyles.
Honest, frank approaches, trusted professional conduct, timely taboo topics, and the most eclectic ensemble of interview guests ever produced. Listen to Frank Talks to learn about the different sides of the human spirit. Be sure to visit our website at www.franktalks.com for the most update information and the latest downloads of programs just like the one you're listening to now.
You're listening to Frank Talks, Pleasures and Lifestyles, and I'm Frank because I have to be. We're in studio today with Marvi Arlik of marviarlik.com. He is an image and fashion consultant. Marvi, let's talk about give me an explanation of your services.
Well, let's talk about how I got to where I am teaching men.
Perfect.
Like I mentioned before the break, I spent a year really improving my own fashion, and another 2 years improving my skills with women. So that's 3 years of studying fashion. I got to the point where I knew a lot of guys who were trying to learn about dating and women at the same time. And they noticed my fashion style and the reactions I would get from women based on the way I'm dressed. And they started asking me questions and asking me advice. It was so much so that at one point I decided to put on a seminar. I think you were there.
That's right. I was one of your audience participants at that seminar.
Yeah. So we got about 15 guys. Well, I think I brought all my clothing.
That was very rare because you had come in with a couple of suitcases and were showing different shirts. I had never seen a man who had so many shoes and boots.
I only brought about 20% of my clothing, actually. But
it was just ridiculous. But you definitely had an incredible knowledge base there.
What I was amazed about was the lack of knowledge of most men on basic fashion and rules. But how I call it rules, but basic fashion knowledge.
Give me an example. What is something that you would consider basic fashion knowledge most men would not know?
Believe it or not, that your belt color should match your shoe color.
Belt color should match shoe color.
Yeah. If you're wearing wearing black shoes, wear black belt.
And that's something that most men don't know, in your opinion.
I bring it up, and believe it or not, yeah, a lot of men are like, really? That's more of a basic one, and I can go with some more as we go along. But basically, yeah, and so that was interesting to me because I realized there was a lack of knowledge of how men don't know how to match their body type to the type of clothing they should be wearing. What happened at the end of the seminar was more interesting, was that guys came up to me and they wanted me to go shopping with them, personally. Because they understood the basics I was talking about. They wanted to see it in person. So I started doing that. I started going with guys and taking them shopping. From there, I was able to develop this whole program that I've developed to help men, which comes to my services and what I do now, which is I usually sit down with a guy for about half an hour, figure out his lifestyle. Obviously, I can see his body type, his background, what he does, where he goes to meet women. I'll do some research, and then we'll go shopping for 5 hours. Right now, I'm doing it strictly in Montreal because I'm from Montreal and I know the areas to go. And I'm currently developing for Toronto and New York. I'm trying to develop programs there too. So we'll go shopping for 5 hours. We'll talk about what type of clothing they should be wearing based on their body type, but more importantly, how they can develop their own personal sense of style going forward. I'm really only teaching in those 5 hours the basics that they can run with and move forward. Then, eventually there's free follow-ups with emails, and I've also started a newsletter that they can join and they can ask me questions, and I put that up on the newsletter and try and answer it as well. So that's really what I'm doing right now.
So many questions I want to ask you. Let's start off with the topic of body types. How many different body types are there? What are the characteristics? What do you look for?
I look for height, tall, medium, short. I look for build. stocky, skinny, or overweight. Basically, combination of those right now.
And what's some of the advice that you would give someone pending their body type?
I'll go over, for body type, I'm looking at the type of pants and basically types of shirts, what sizes they should be wearing for their body type and their height, what patterns they could be wearing to either accentuate their body type or hide certain negatives they see in their body shape, that sort of thing.
Okay, so let's say there's somebody listening right now who maybe is 5 feet tall and very skinny. What kind of advice would you give him?
Someone who's a bit shorter, who's skinny, I would wear more tight-fitting clothes. You can buy tailored shirts, for example, button-down shirts that are tapered on the sides. I'd wear jeans that are straight leg with a little bit of flare at the bottom. It's going to give a lean look, and it'll hide a bit their slim build. Guys who are tall and have a slim build, they have an advantage. They should show that off, because if you look in most magazines, what do you see? Tall, skinny guys. So for women, that's what's in their head when they think of a good-looking guy. So a guy who's tall and skinny should accentuate that, because women associate that with good-looking women. Guys who are short and skinny, women subconsciously want to feel that the guy they're with is going to be able to protect them. And sometimes if you see a guy who's really short and skinny, they might not feel that, and that could work against you trying to attract her, believe it or not. So wearing clothes that make you look, maybe wear layers, make you look a little bit more bulky, and try not to accentuate the fact that you're really, really skinny.
What about people who are overweight? What are the general rules?
I've talked to you a bit about that, and you've helped me out with my seminar on that, because you seem to have a lot of good ideas on that. You can wear stripes, like vertical stripes is more slimming. Wearing again, layers. Wearing clothes that are not too thick. Making sure you're not wearing pants that are tapered at the bottom. That'll make you look bigger. Making more of a relaxed fit pant or jean helps as well. Stuff like that. If you're wearing suits, bigger guys should probably wear more of a double-breasted suit than a single-breasted.
We're going to go to another commercial break. When we come back, we'll be talking to Marvi about coming up with our own personal styles. Here on Frank Talks, Pleasures and Lifestyles.
From Loser to Seducer is the story of Frank B. Kermit. This book marks the triumph of a nice guy over most of his inner demons. This includes going from being a loser to managing 5 lovers at the same time, his first Valentine's date with 2 women at the same time, and getting back the one that got away. Want to learn how you can change your life? Buy this book at franktalks.com.
Frank Talks is sponsored in part by the Personalized Symbolic Peacocking Seminar. Guys, do you think that your father has a great sense of style? Are blue jeans and a clean t-shirt your idea of dressy? Then you need the Personalized Symbolic Peacocking Seminar. Does 1982 live in your closet? Do you own clothes that have more holes in them than a slice of Swiss cheese? Then you need the Personalized Symbolic Peacocking Seminar. Look at the contents of your closet. If you think that navy blue and dark green are your colorful clothes, then you need the Personalized Symbolic Peacocking Seminar. When you pick up your date for that night out on the town, does she cringe at your wardrobe? If you think that ladies might wonder if you're colorblind, or if your girlfriend has to remind you to wear a clean item of clothing, then you definitely need the Personalized Symbolic Peacocking Seminar. The Personalized Symbolic Peacocking Seminar and telephone consultations, only available at franktalks.com.
Frank Talks is sponsored in part by Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test, a man's guide to the emotional needs of women. What would your life be like if you knew exactly what to say and do with women? This book is for the guy that simply wants to learn how to handle women's tests by addressing her emotional needs. By this, you create the type of attraction that will make her see you as the one she was destined to be with. This book will teach you how to get the woman you want and how to keep her. Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test is the Rosetta Stone for men to understand exactly what a woman means when she speaks and how to respond. Is that worth changing your life forever? Buy this book at franktalks.com now.
You're listening to Frank Talks Pleasures and Lifestyles, and I'm Frank because I have to be. Marvi, here's a question for you. Why is it even important to have your own personal sense of style? Why can't you just wear what's in the stores right now, on display, on sale?
If you're at the point of your life where you're pretty successful in attracting women in dating, maybe it's not so important, to be honest. But if you're a guy who's trying to figure this stuff out, it's one way that you can help achieve the objective of getting more successful a little bit quicker. I already mentioned the fact that it's part of your nonverbal communication when you're talking with women, that you can improve very quickly. It's about the first impression you make when you first meet a woman. Sometimes if you dress a certain way or you have a good, cool personal style, you just might be her type, and it might be easier for you to attract her. It also breaks down one of the barriers that could stop you from attracting her. If you're dressed, women pay a lot of attention to fashion and what people wear. I heard the quote, they can see thread count from a mile away in terms of a pair of jeans. So they pay attention. So if they see a guy pays attention, that's interesting to them, because most guys don't. So you're standing apart from most guys.
What are some of the specific signs that a woman will look for when she's studying a man who's got a certain sense of fashion?
Shoes, and shoes. If you ever notice, at least my observations, if a woman's checking you out, she'll look down and look up. Have you ever experienced that?
Mm-hmm.
She's checking out your shoes. And if she likes them, she'll smile when she looks back up. That's a pretty good indication.
Just shoes?
Shoes are number one. A guy could be wearing an old T-shirt, plain pair of jeans, and a really cool pair of boots, and look good. And a guy could be wearing a Armani suit with ugly shoes and not look good. So for me, it's an important factor that women notice. It doesn't necessarily have to be an expensive pair of shoes. It could be a plain pair of shoes that have been polished, that look clean and presentable.
So would you say that in designing your own personal sense of style, that the majority of the emphasis should be on the shoes?
Shoes is where I usually start when I'm teaching. What I emphasize is not specifically what to wear, but how to express your personality in what you wear.
Give me an example, because it still sounds very vague to me.
Okay. I guess the best way to describe it is what I call the 25 to 32 concept. It's about realizing what type of women you want to attract and expressing that in your clothing. Most guys that I've asked when I do a pre-interview, I ask them, well, what age group are you looking for? And almost always they say 20 to 40. They're not very specific. So if you're not sure, then you should be able to dress in a certain style that can attract different type of women and doesn't put you in a certain hole. If you dress like a hip-hop artist with all this baggy clothing, you might attract 18, 19-year-olds, but you might not attract a 40-year-old. And there's a movement in fashion right now where there's a lot of 40-year-olds, 45-year-olds who are single, who go out all the time, but they want to look like they're in their late 20s because they're still trying to attract 20-year-olds and 30-year-old women. So if you can express yourself and that you understand fashion and you're wearing what 25, 30-year-olds wear, you're going to look younger, and you can attract women that are from 20 to 40.
If I wanted to attract 18 to 22-year-olds, what are some of the fashion tips that I would follow? What are some of the clothes I would buy?
I would go more for what I call an urban look, a little bit baggier clothing, jackets and pants with, let's say, an army pattern, that sort of thing. Clothing you see more, musicians wear. A lot of jewelry, maybe big cowboy boots, that sort of thing, or chunky running shoes. People that wear into young clubs, that sort of thing.
What about brand names like Puma running shoes and that sort of thing?
I don't worry about brand names so much than with the overall look. I don't like clothing, for me personally, that will advertise a brand name on there. I mix and match different styles, different brand names. I might be wearing a really expensive pair of jeans with a shirt that's less expensive because it just matches and looks good. It's more about expressing who you are, and it's also creating a little bit of a mystery when a woman sees you. She can't define your style so much. It's such a mix at one point where it's just who you are. For example, if I'm wearing a crazy pair of boots with nice jeans and a button-down shirt, and more of a risque haircut. It's like, well, what's going on here? Like, he's not just a preppy guy because he's got a few elements that are preppy, but he's also got some more that are a little bit more wilder. So they're like, okay, well, what does he do? They can't really tell. They may not be able to tell your age as well, so they can't really define you as much. And that's interesting to women.
What about a classic look? A jacket, a tie, someone with a nice set of polished shoes. Maybe somebody who looks like a corporate executive, works in an office. Just a really standard, clean, but presentable, classic look.
That's fine if you're going to meet women in higher class social events. Most of the guys that I help, they're going to bars and clubs or coffee shops or a little bit lower end social events to meet women, where it's more business casual. It's a little bit more casual than that. So that is more where I gear towards. Guys are very good at like matching a tie and wearing a suit. Take them out of the suit and they don't know what to do.
Okay, big question as it relates to the study of women and dating. The word peacocking. Are you familiar with that term?
Yes, I am.
Okay. What do you think about peacocking?
Peacocking is great if you're going to a club that's very loud. My definition of peacocking is putting on a piece of clothing to go specific to a club, then when you get home you take off and you don't wear again till the next week. What I like to teach is, like I keep mentioning, is an image that you can project all the time. What I wear to a club is what I would wear to work, is what I would wear to a coffee shop. It's who I am. I don't put on specific things just to go to a specific place so much as I do about express the fact that I'm stylish and that I know fashion and that I have a bold personality because I wear bold clothing. That's the difference between peacocking and, having a sense of style. Anyway, someone who wears, for example, a cowboy hat who's not a cowboy, it's not who they are. They're just trying to show off or they're just trying to have some fun. There's nothing wrong with that. I've done it. I sometimes still do it if I'm in a mood, I'm going to a crazy place. But it's not who I am. I'm more about teaching guys to dress based on who they are.
Where does someone start? Let's assume that I'm a client. I show up to one of your seminars or I'm doing one-on-one time with you. I don't know who I am. Where do I start so I know what to go out and buy?
I would start with trying to figure out who you are. It's very important. I talk to the guys. Are they going to be going out to bars and clubs? Are they mostly meeting through social circle? Are they mostly meeting through speed dating? Depending on the events.
So do you always start with the type of women or the type of venues that these guys are?
Well, I just want to know. I want to know their personality. Some guys are more conservative, and you can still have a personal sense of style with more conservative clothing. If you're more comfortable, there's guys that are comfortable in their body. So they might wear more bold clothing that shows off their body more. Guys that are more conservative, you can still have a great sense of style, but maybe wear clothes that are more conservative. So that's what I would start with. What are you comfortable with? What I find is guys start off with more conservative stuff, and as they get into it, then they actually start feeling more comfortable expressing themselves with clothing, and then actually go to more bold stuff. So it's more, first of all, who are you? Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is I would look at, what I tell guys is when you see yourself, when you visualize yourself going to talk to a woman, what does that image look like, your ideal image? Visually. What are you wearing? What do you look like? How are you expressing yourself? You talk in your book about being your own mentor, and it's the same concept, is what do you want to look like? What do you picture a successful you looking like when you're going to talk to them? That puts them in a mind frame where they start evaluating what they're wearing and how they're projecting. I try and tell them, based on how they're dressed now, how do they project themselves to the world versus how they want to, and try and narrow that gap.
Okay, here's a question for you. Client comes up to you, says when they envision themselves being dressed up and having a sense of style, it's not something they even feel comfortable trying out. How do you encourage them to take the chance? Do you even bother encouraging them to take a chance with that, or do you get them to find something they're already comfortable with?
I have a little trick. I do try and push them. Yes, I do. I have a little trick. when they're going shopping with me, they're not spending any money during the session. All they're doing is trying on clothes. So they're not afraid to try a lot of different things. And I will push them to try something because they're not thinking about they're going to have to buy it or not.
So wait a minute. You go shopping with these men for 5 hours.
Yeah.
You don't buy a thing.
That's right.
Isn't that like what women do?
Probably, yeah. What the concept is that if they're not worried about buying something and looking at price tags, they're more willing to try it on. They're not tied to actually having the investment of buying it. So I've had guys who are very conservative, and I'm like, just try this on. Who cares? It'll take you 5 minutes. If you don't like it, take it off. So I do push them. And it's amazing when they try something they never thought of, and they're like, oh, wow. A good example is I'm a big fan of wearing 3/4 length boots. Most guys haven't tried on a pair of boots with a big heel. It's a bold look. It's an aggressive look. Most guys are like, no. As soon as I put them in these boots, I can't get them off them. Okay. They walk differently. They feel more confident, and all of a sudden they're going out and buying them. So it's just pushing them a little bit. And sometimes they have trouble visualizing what they want to look like. In that case, I'll pull out some magazines. We'll look at some models. I also tell them to picture, a movie star that they've seen that they like their sorts of style. They say, oh, I can picture myself looking like Colin Quinn. I'm like, okay, Google Colin Quinn images, and you'll see a million pictures of him dressed up. Print some of those out. We can go over them and see what he's wearing, and we can start developing something.
Frank Talks is sponsored in part by the Adult Male Virgin Seminar and Telephone Consultations. Ladies, is your boyfriend an adult male virgin? Is he so shy and insecure that you need to take the initiative, but you really wish he would just be the man and take the lead? Does he think holding hands and sweet cheek kisses is fulfilling? Does he think the G-Spot is the name of a new club? Ladies, if his idea of a night of fun means you get to be player number 2 in his latest video game, then get him the gift that will give you both pleasure. The Adult Male Virgin Seminar and Telephone Consultations. Only available at franktalks.com. Frank helps adult boys become men.
Frank Talks is sponsored in part by Pimping Your Pad Seminars. Decorating your bachelor apartment. Your home and the way you live is an extension of your sexuality. Frank will show you, with pictures of his own home, what women look for that identifies you as a potential partner. Frank looks at everything from theme rooms to furniture placement and space management to pets to the organization of your bathroom to get women who want to spend the night. The Pimping Your Pad Seminars and Telephone Consultations. Only available at franktalks.com.
Would you like to sponsor Frank Talks? Visit www.franktalks.com and contact Frank, because he has to be. Sponsorships are always welcome, whether it's prize giveaways, parting gifts for our guests, studio equipment, accessories for the Frankmobile, or a host of other wonderment. Help Frank Talks make the world a better place, one interview at a time.
You're listening to Frank Talks Pleasures and Lifestyles, and I'm Frank because I have to be. We're in studio today with Marvi Arlik from marviarlik.com. He is a fashion and image consultant for men. Marvi, let's talk about some of Marvi's rules of fashion.
First of all, I get a lot of questions of why these rules are. Why is this? Why do you have to do that? Why do you have to do this? A lot of the rules are based on women's fashions, and my advice is that that's what women pay attention to, so follow them. It's not a logical thing. The first one is a classic one where the color of the belt should match the color of your shoes. If you're wearing black shoes, wear a black belt. Women pay attention to that.
What if you're wearing like a pair of snakeskin shoes or something of that nature?
Go for the same color tone. Doesn't have to be the exact same color, so the same shade. So if it's like gray snakeskin, look for a gray belt, that sort of thing. So the same within the same tones is pretty good. I'm pretty anal. I try to match it exactly, but as long as it's in the same tone, women will notice if your belt and shoes match.
My question is why?
I can't answer that, and I don't try and figure it out. It's not logical. Just follow it. It's like a lot of things when it comes to women and dating. Don't quite try and question certain things. Just do what works.
What are some of your other rules?
Because I gear towards guys who are trying to look 25 to 32, to attract women between 20 and 40. No baseball caps when you're going out. The backward baseball cap look just doesn't work when you're wearing a blazer and nice jeans. Find a good tailor. That's probably one of my biggest. I'm a very big fan of clothes that fit properly, and when I go with a guy, I'll explain that. A lot of times you'll find something that might not fit exactly, might fit 80% in terms of the sleeve or the shoulder or the fit. Your tailor's your friend. He'll take that shirt that looks okay and make it look amazing on you. Any local tailor that is usually pretty good. And then once you try, like I have a good tailor I go to, he knows my body type, he knows me very well. I don't have to sit and worry whether it's going to fit or not once I bring to him. So that's pretty important. No backpacks if you're not going to school. You see a lot of guys wearing now those man bags and more like over-the-shoulder type bags, leather and stuff like that. It looks a lot better to carry your stuff in than a backpack. So that's a big one for me as well. If you're wearing button-down shirts, make sure they're ironed. Make sure that what you're wearing looks crisp and new and doesn't look like you slept in it. For your wallet, make sure everyone see the Seinfeld episode where they got that really thick wallet that bulges out of your breast as you're looking at it. Keep your wallet slim. If you're wearing a nice suit or nice sport coat and it's slim, and you got this big bulge coming out of your chest because it's in your breast pocket, I'll just tell you slim that down a bit so it's a cleaner look. And another good piece of advice is if you're wearing a piece of clothing with a pattern on it, try and keep the rest of the clothing more solid color so it doesn't conflict, that sort of thing. So those are the basic things I usually go over with guys.
When you started making these changes, the people around you were noticing that you were going from your 10-year corporate guy to a much more attention-grabbing image consultant. What were some of the experiences you got, or some of the reactions you got from the people you've knew all your life?
It's interesting. I ignored the comments from the guys, and I just listened to the comments from the women. I use women's comments as a springboard to see how things work in terms of fashion. So I notice, what my sister might say, women I've known in my past who suddenly see me change my style and they'll comment on the clothing and all of that stuff. So I knew I was on the right path based on the comments I was getting from women. And I clearly blocked out any comments I was getting from guys. It didn't affect me at all.
Give me an example of some of the comments men would make.
What's with the crazy boots? That was a pretty sudden change in the way you dress. Stuff like that. It's hard for me to say it because I wasn't really listening to it, so it's hard for me to verbalize what some of them are. Do
you still associate with some of those guys who are giving you a hard time?
No, there's some friends that I've had to, I don't want to say lost, but that I have had to stop associating with because of negative thinking on their part. I think that's the sacrifice and that most guys who go through this process have to find out, is that you have to keep the guys, the friends and the people who are positive. And unfortunately, you might have to, drop people who are negative thinking because it's their negative thinking and you can't let it affect you.
How easy or how difficult is that process?
It's very difficult. At one point, once you realize that you can't take your friends with you all the time on a journey, it's hard. But in the end, you're responsible only for your own happiness. And you've got to let yourself go of other people's problems and really deal with your own. And once you go through that process and you accept that, it's easier to do.
Let's talk about skin color. Mm-hmm. Someone may have a darker complexion or a very lighter complexion. How does that affect their sense of fashion, if at all?
It affects what colors they should be wearing, at least for their shirts, not so much the pants. The concept of skin tone, what you want is when someone looks at you, you want them to look at your face right away. That's the first thing you want them to look at. Yes, want to look up and down and look at your shoes, but when they're talking to you, you want them focusing on your face. If someone has a dark complexion and skin tone, African American or Indian background, they want to stay away from wearing black clothing because their face is almost going to fade into the color of the clothing. They want to wear brighter colors like whites, tropical colors. It's really going to bring out their features in their face, and people will look at them in the eye when they're talking to them. It's the first thing they'll see. People who have a medium skin tone, probably have black hair, dark eyes, they can wear blacks and whites and grays and blues, but stay away from beige, because those type of colors are going to, again, the face will fade away. People who have a very light skin tone want to concentrate on beiges and blacks and stay away from very bright colors, because, again, their faces will fade away. So those are the concepts I teach in terms of skin tone.
We're going to go to our next commercial break. We'll be back right after this.
Frank Talks is sponsored in part by the Adult Male Virgin Seminar and Telephone Consultations. Guys, if the only breast you ever touched was in a bucket of chicken, you need the Adult Male Virgin Seminar. If the only thing you've licked recently has been your fingers to turn the pages of a book, you need the Adult Male Virgin Seminar. If the only female body part you are familiar with wears a cape, can fly, or has superpowers, you need the Adult Male Virgin Seminar. If you think the G-Spot is the name of a new club, you need the Adult Male Virgin Seminar. If the words missionary conjures up images of guys in long robes, you need the Adult Male Virgin Seminar. If the only sensation your fingers have had are pressing the buttons on your remote control, then you need the Adult Male Virgin Seminar. Do you know what it means when a woman asks you up to her place for coffee? If you think that she is thirsty for caffeine, then you definitely need the Adult Male Virgin Seminar. Only available at franktalks.com. Frank helps adult boys become men.
You want to learn new things? Want to meet new people? Want to discover real possibilities? Listen to Frank Talks, Pleasures and Lifestyles, in making the world a better place. Be sure to visit our website at www.franktalks.com for the most up-to-date information and the latest downloads of programs just like the one you are listening to now.
Frank Talks is sponsored in part by Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test, a man's guide to the emotional needs of women. What would your life be like if you knew exactly what to say and do with women? Learn how to handle women's tests by addressing her emotional needs. By this, you create the type of attraction that will make her see you as the one. This book is a guide for men to understand exactly what a woman means when she speaks. Is that worth changing your life forever? Buy this book at franktalks.com now.
You're listening to Frank Talks, Pleasures and Lifestyles, and I'm Frank because I have to be. One of the biggest events when a guy goes through this process is that some things in his life are going to change. Marvi, in your experience with all of your clients, what is one of the biggest changes after they go through this process and they develop a personal sense of fashion?
People start paying attention to them, and at first they're not used to it. What I try and help with guys is how do they handle the compliments and the attention they're going to start getting, and how to use that attention to their advantage in two ways. All of a sudden, you're going to walk into a club and women are going to start looking at you. You're going to start getting attention. Women might start talking to you. Might start trying to feel your clothes, all this stuff. I use that attention in two ways. Number one, that's the way I filter how a certain style is working for me. If I'm wearing something new, am I getting compliments from women? If I am, I know it's working. If no one's paying attention to what I'm wearing and it's something new, I pay attention to that and I try to make a change. Second of all, I actually use that to my advantage in trying to attract women. So if women are opening me because of what I'm wearing, that's one less step I have to take in terms of building attraction. They've already started talking to me. Okay? So what I've come up with is how do you deal with certain comments that women make? Some guys they'll dress up, they'll go out, and all of a sudden this beautiful woman will make a comment and compliment them, and the guy goes, he forgets everything he's learned about attraction and just starts going, oh, thank you. Right? So I actually use that to my advantage now. If women make certain comments, I have comebacks. I know what to say.
Do you teach some of those in your seminars?
It's funny. I don't teach it in my seminar. I get questions afterwards.
Okay.
Guys will go out, they change their style, and then they're like, I'm getting all this attention. I'm like, yeah, that's the point. That's the point. So, if a woman is like compliments you, you can, you accuse her of hitting on you. You can really feed that back and work it into flirting with women. And it's a great tool that I use personally. To warm up the whole conversation.
We tried a little something different for this show. Normally people will email me with questions that they want me to ask you. This time people were emailing you directly at marviarlik.com. What are some of the questions that you got that you were asked to answer on tonight's show?
Well, a recurring theme that I got with 2 different emails was, is it true that you are how you dress, true or false? And how do you choose a persona that is right for you? For me, it's the same vein. It's like I mentioned earlier. You have to be a confident person, know who you are, and that'll start to be conveyed also in how you dress. If you're just putting on expensive clothing and you don't know who you are and you don't have confidence, you have a lot of anxiety, and you don't have a good body language, it won't matter how you dress. So it's a matter of knowing who you are and then learning to have fun with your clothing and then expressing it that way. So you got to have the persona to pull off some of the clothing that I show guys to wear. Another question is shopping for clothes on eBay a good idea? Yes, it's a great idea. You can get jeans is a great place to buy stuff. eBay has a lot of good deals. And what I suggest is if you see expensive stuff on eBay, go to a clothes store, try it on so you know your size, you know the style, then go to eBay and order it so you know what to get right away. The other question I think we already answered was why does your belt have to match your shoes, which we mentioned earlier. It's not a logical thing. It's just something that you have to follow.
Marvi, it's been really great having you here on Frank Talks. We definitely hope that you'll come back in the future and do another show with us. Why don't you give people your website address as well as different ways to contact you?
You can reach me on my website, which is www.marviarlik.com. That's marviarlik.com. Or you can reach me at marviarlik@hotmail.com.
Thank you very much. You've been listening to Frank Talks, Pleasures and Lifestyles.
Frank Talks is sponsored in part by the Adult Male Virgin Seminars and Telephone Consultations. If you are an adult and want to get a handle on this once and for all, you need this seminar. Being an adult male virgin can be most stigmatizing in today's society. You feel like a failure in the eyes of the mass culture around you, alienated from your male friends who all talk about their sexual conquests, and you must hide this shameful secret lest they use it against you. And the very personal pain, anguish, and despair that cannot be described by words that haunts you every moment of your life. Enough is enough. It is time for male virgins to take charge of their sex lives. Frank gives you the rules of winning in this seminar. The Adult Male Virgin Seminars and Telephone Consultations. Make your first time the best time of her life. Only available at franktalks.com. Frank helps adult boys turn into men.
If you need help with your relationships, my buddy Frank, he's got some tips. Just go to franktalks.com. His advice is better than your mom's. He knows what you're going through, Frank has been there too. So log on to franktalks.com. franktalks.com.
Need help with love, sex, dating, or relationship issues? Help from Frank Kermit, the best-selling author and Canada's most international relationship coach, is only a click away at franktalks.com. What do you do when you feel like a fool? When your heart has been broken again? Pick up the phone phone or get onto Skype and talk on a private session. Yeah, get a little help from Frank Talks. Whoa, whoa, get by with a little help from Frank Talks. You gotta try a little help from Frank Talks. What do you do when your love goes away? Try coaching one-on-one. How do I sign up to turn things around? Just sign up at franktalks.com. Yeah, get by with help from Frank Talks. I get by with little help from Frank Talks. Time to try a little help from Frank Talks. Does it cost a lot of money? It's the best rate going around. Could it cost a lot of money? Oh, it's worth every cent that you will put down. Yeah, franktalks.com. Oh, you got to go to get your help from franktalks.com. Yeah, yeah. Would you believe that Frank gets results? Yes, we're certain. Just read the reviews. Frank knows his stuff, and Frank's got the goods. Good love can soon come to you.